This is what happens. Hey there, and welcome to part 2 of Q&A with April from Blushing Phoenix. If you don't know me, I'm April, and I'm the founder of Blushing Phoenix, and I help people move through their redness and into living their best life. And we're already looking flushed, baby. Because if you've seen part 1, you know it's Mother's Day. And I'm having a little cocktail. And I'm feeling super excited. First of all, we got alcohol moving through the system. Second of all, I am upstairs. And if you know, you know. Meaning when I first started my channel, I did videos up here all the time. And it gets really hot up here, especially as the sun moves to this side of my house, which is where the window is. And that is what's happening right now. And I'm really excited to be answering these questions. So there's a lot of excitement happening and a lot of like just blood pumping through my body, a lot of adrenaline out of excitement. And this is what happens. And there's a really, really loud car out there. Okay. All right. So let's just jump right into part 2 of Q&A. I asked you all on Instagram, ask me a question, and you all understood the assignment. And so this is part 2. First question. I have this same issue. Any advice to feel more confident or ways to make it less red? Well, yeah, I always talk about ways to make it less red or when you have a flare-up to make it calm down faster. In one of my previous videos, I talked about using Cicapair, which is a green tint moisturizer cream cover-up thing that works actually really well. I don't love the stickiness of that product, but it actually does work, especially if you have more blushing on your face. So I would recommend you go watch that video. The other thing I've been using is a cream-based CBD and hemp oil product called the Original No. 12. And I've noticed with that product that I don't flush nearly as much. And if I do flush, it does calm itself down a lot quicker than if I didn't have any product on. So I'm so far on that product, I am sold. As far as feeling more confident, I know for me as a woman, I do like to wear higher neck shirts. They make really great shirts, even for the summertime, that are sleeveless, that are high neck. And I know if I'm wearing a high neck shirt and I don't have to think very much about turning red depending on where I'm going and a situation that I am in, or an environment that I am in, like giving a presentation or meeting with a bunch of like board members or things of that nature, I'm going to wear a higher neck shirt because then I just don't have to deal with what my feelings and nerves are going to do that day. They can do what they want to do. They are safe to turn red and make me all flush if they want, but I don't have to think about it as much because I know that others aren't seeing it. So for me, that is one thing that I do. I also like to talk a lot about not running from it and covering it up, but you have to get there in due time. And there's just days where you're just not feeling that. So yes, I do have advice for you to feel more confident and ways to make it less red. This would take up the whole video if I went on and on, so I would highly suggest you go take a look at some of the videos where I talk about reviews, and there's I think it's 3 tips that I'll link below that gives you some kind of insight on how to better equip yourself to deal with like a sit-down dinner, because I know a lot of people struggle in that area. Next question. When did you first notice you started to blush, and what triggers your blushing? Such a good question. I actually blushed and flushed up my chest for the first time when I was about 15 years old. I worked at a grocery store, and I remember I got like super pissed off about something, and I had a little bit of an altercation with somebody, and I came back up to the front of the store, and this person that I worked with was like, "Whoa, you are like super red right now." And I don't remember that hurting my feelings. Like, I don't remember being like, "Oh my gosh, I'm red." I remember looking down and being like, whoa, like I had never seen myself look like that. It was like hives and like red and flushed. It wasn't really like this, but it definitely was a flushed situation that was happening. And it was more like these like kind of round splotches all over me. And I remember, because I was so pissed off, that I almost remember being like, yeah, that's right. That's how pissed off I am, man. I was kind of a badass when I was younger, so to me, it just further proved my point that I'm a badass. So I remember the first time it happened when I was 15, and then I started to notice it more when I got in my early 20s. I'm 37 now. I was probably like right around 2021, and my life was shifting, meaning that I was kind of leaving my old life behind and moving into this new life. I had just gotten married. I was getting ready to have a baby. At 22, I had my first child, and I just remember like these toxic friendships and just things that weren't good for me anymore. I needed to shift out of them. I will just tell you that I was becoming aware for the first time in my life. And I also was going into religious like organizations at that point. So I kind of shifted out of school, went right into corporate America, and then started going into church. No disrespect to anybody, but talk about your nervous system just kind of getting like, whew, like you go from a school system that you want to belong in and you want to be part of the group and you don't want to be different. And I did great there. And then you go into corporate America where you're trying to climb this ladder and you don't want to get fired and your boss is a tyrant and you just want to live up to the expectations and keep your paycheck and your benefits coming in. And then you go into a church environment where you're just not holy enough. And even though they're like, oh, no, it's fine, you're forgiven, and you know, we are sinful creatures. And I was in ministry. I was really, I think 12 years in ministry. And I just kind of got to this place where I'm like, yeah, I ain't doing this no more. I feel so counterintuitive to who I am and who I'm supposed to be. And I'm constantly feeling shameful and that I'm not enough, at least within this organization. I ain't doing it no more. But I know that for me, I really just wanted to fit in and I wanted to belong somewhere and I wanted to be good enough. And I know that in around 2017, so in 2011, I had a really bad spout with anxiety and depression. My book, Pressing Forward, talks all about that. I will link that below if you're interested in reading my story. It's a short story. If you don't like to read, it's really short and it just kind of gives my insight of overcoming anxiety and depression and suicidal ideations and fighting with like the religious, just, oh, my mind, I was losing my mind, I felt like. And I also was working in addiction treatment at the time, and I was having all this awareness. When I had the anxiety, I wasn't working in addiction treatment, but when I wrote the book, I was working in addiction treatment. So I reference a lot of that there. It talks a lot about overcoming your fears, who you are, being good enough, and being okay with yourself. I was not majorly flushing at the time that I wrote the book. Like I was, but I was never going to write about it at the time. So that a lot of that's not in there, but a lot of the stuff leading up to where I am now is in that book. So it kind of gives a lot of the foundation. But anyway, I digress. As I was climbing the corporate ladder, I think this was in 2017, I sat down in my boss's office. There's already this authoritative relationship going on because it's my boss. And he looked at me one day and he said, your chest and your neck just got really red. Is everything okay? Did I just say something to upset you? And I remember like the world like closing in on me all of a sudden, and I looked down and I saw like how flushed I was, and I just felt so seen, but not in a way that I wanted to be seen, because in corporate America, you want to be what they want you to be. You want to be the avatar. You want to be like perfection so you can get elevated and you can get raises and you can get promotion and you could feel good about yourself in that environment. And I had to explain to him, no, I'm not upset. I don't know what just happened. And so from that moment on, anytime I would talk to him, he would try to get me to turn red. And if he could get me to turn red, which he did, it happened like clockwork. As soon as I would sit in front of him, I would flush and turn red. And yeah, so he psychologically connected some shit in my brain and in my body that I have since then been trying to undo. Thank you so much for that, boss, old boss. And then so what happened after that is that any boss that I had, so that's since 2017, any boss that I had from that moment, yeah, I would turn red. You could see in some of my old videos or older videos, one of my favorite bosses in the whole wide world. A lot of the flushing videos that I would post during 2020 was after I had a conversation with him. He's a super safe guy, has never said a word about me turning red or anything, but it's an authoritative relationship. And even in my current role, fantastic boss, so supportive. I mean, I'm so lucky to have such great bosses, but I still flush with him as well. So Damn it, that damn authority. Ugh, I rebel against authority, whether it's good or not. I just don't like it. I don't like people telling me what to do. So I know that's a really long way to respond to this question, but I feel like it's important for you all to know is that that is where the blushing and flushing started for me. And it just kind of escalated from there. Once my mind locked on to it, yeah, I noticed that I look back at pictures, and pictures before 2017, I would wear lower cut shirts. I'm like, I cannot believe I wore that to work. Because I do remember having some flushing moments every once in a while, but it was not enough to make me feel like this is so bad and I need to hide from it, until I worked for that particular boss who would point it out every day. And then when I went into the next job, I remember being it was like the first week, and this girl was training me, and I was wearing lower cut shirts. And then one day she was training me on something, and we were laughing and talking, and we were just having a good time. And she's like, "Oh, are you okay? You just got all super flushed and red." I was like, oh yeah, no, it just happens sometimes. It just is what it is. And I tried to brush it off. And then after that, I was like, that shit, I'm not doing this anymore. And that's when I started wearing higher neck shirts. And then as the story moves on, I'm like, okay, I don't want to run from it all the time, but that was my answer for a really long time. And as far as my triggers, alcohol, sometimes, not all the time, but for the most part, alcohol usually is a pretty good trigger. If I don't flush off of alcohol, I'm like, wow, I'm not flushing. This is amazing. Sunlight, being out in sunlight with the sun just beaming onto my skin, gonna have a reaction to it. I mean, emotions like passion, anger, lots of joy and happiness. A lot of that stuff will actually... What is happening outside? Are we it? Anyway, a lot of that. Your normal emotions can make me flush. Sometimes I do think there's certain foods that can trigger it. In the last video, I talked about Dr. Tara Odesky, who healed her rosacea through diet. And I do think diet is huge. I think histamine intolerance, I think all of those things are very real. And as much as people are like, have you tried that? Do you want to try that? I'm like, I don't want to give up my bread and alcohol and my cheeses and my avocados and all the other things you have to kind of reduce out of your diet in order to figure out if it is a histamine intolerance. So if that is for you, you go for it. But for me, it's not interfering with my life enough that I want to get rid of the things that I enjoy. Next question. Is remote work helping or hurting people with this condition? I think it's a little bit of both. So I think everybody just needed a freaking break. I know I did. We all just needed a break. We just needed to calm our systems down, know that we're okay. The funny thing is, I noticed when the pandemic first hit and we were all going into those Zoom environments, is that I would still flush on camera. So, completely safe. There is no physical threat in front of you because nobody's coming through the screen to attack you. But because it's that I need to perform and I need to be on and I need to be all these different things, I think my nervous system's still looking at those people on the screen as they are not safe. And especially when it's tied to corporate environment work. I think it is helping in the sense that we are all getting a break. We get to calm down. We kind of get to do things a little more on our time. There's a little more flexibility. You're not as taxed with having to perform in the sense of dressing up and going to work and doing all these things to make people see you a certain way. I think that it can be hurting people with this condition if you cannot regulate the fact that you still need to go and be social. You need to be with people. You need to go out. Whatever that looks like for you. That could be with friends, family members. It doesn't mean you have to, go network with strangers, but in reality, you're going to have to come out from your house every once in a while. If you go to the grocery store and you're on the verge of a panic attack, is that really any way to live? What my suggestion would be is therapy always, some sort of coaching, something to get in here and somebody on the outside with no judgment to just help you work through some of your thoughts around things. I think we need to be a little uncomfortable sometimes. I think that's just life. Life is so uncomfortable from time to time. And I think that we should allow ourselves to be in those situations to realize that we're alive. Because think about the expression of a human. It is not always happy. I remember when I was a kid and I used to think, I wish every day could be Christmas. But what if every day really was Christmas? It would make Christmas less special. It would make it not as fun. I mean, eventually, are you going to run out of gifts to get? And just like the way everybody is more laid back, I just don't think it's realistic for every day to be Christmas. And even though that was something that I hoped for when I was a kid because it felt so good in the moment, when I think about other things I've been through in my life that are different emotions and feelings and responses to life, that is what makes up the whole human experience, not just the good stuff. All that to say, I think it is helping and I think it is harming if people are not aware enough to know they need some sort of human connection outside of their computers and outside of their homes. All right, this video got a little longer than I anticipated, so we are going to do a Q&A part 3 and wrap up this series in the next video. So thank you all again for submitting your questions. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry if I can't get to every single one of them. They're great questions. I have a lot of videos that will cover a lot of the topics that some of you ask questions on. If you want to go just in my search bar and just put in the topic of whatever it is that you asked, if I don't answer it in the upcoming video, and you will probably find a video or interview of some sort of me having that discussion. Ooh, look at this, you. I am flaring. Not feeling unsafe at all. When you asked about what triggers my blushing, I'm like super flushed right now, actually. Super flushed, and my face is actually really blushed as well. I don't normally blush on the face, but I noticed that I've started to blush more as the years are going on. So I'm super and let me just add, hold on a second. Let me add really quick. Okay, so I'm gonna post this picture. It actually doesn't look as bad as it does on camera. It's because I have a white shirt on, and I think it's the setting on my camera. Let's see if I can actually show it to you. Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm trying to show you on here, but it's gonna make it reflect the same way. Anyway, I'm gonna post this picture and you're gonna see it's not as red as it looks on camera, but this is not from feeling unsafe. This is from, definitely from this and the orange juice that's very acidic that's going on in here. And it's fucking hot up here in this room. And if I turn the fan on, I feel like it's gonna make too much noise. So anyway, part 3, get ready for it. I'm gonna be super flush as I turn the camera on for that, one. Real time, baby, real time. I'll see you in my next video. Oh, if you like this video and you like the content here, be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment below about what spoke to you the most during this video. And until next time, I'll see you in my next video.